Again. This is Max Drake. I want to talk this time about maps with data. One of the things which you actually do when you design and build a building is you end up with a phenomenal amount of information. That information a lot of the time sort of drifts away through the life of the building. I've been on a couple of jobs where I've gone through to the facilities management team and found some as-built of the original building that was actually done. A lot of times, specifically things like services, mechanical systems, fans, data, all of that, and half of it's disappeared. Somebody's taken it out to do some work on it and they've never returned that information. It's rather frustrating. Nowadays, with a lot of the stuff digitized, it's really handy to be able to do things and actually have things. And one of the examples I'd like to show today is in fact using maps and showing data. This is an example that I did for a organisation that I was trying to get some work out of that I didn't, that has a few little features on it. First of all, I used Google Maps to begin with, and one of the problems I actually had was some of the buildings weren't actually displayed. They're gone. So I actually did an overlay so that I could actually show all of the buildings where they existed. This particular example, I ended up doing this overlay because I think I was in OpenStreetMaps, and OpenStreetMaps didn't show, only shows some buildings. The other thing is, over time you actually build up buildings. Item 27 seems to be missing something. It's actually not defined as a building, it's actually a pool, so that's why. But anyway, one of the things which I wanted to try and do was actually, this is a site and has a whole lot of buildings. Because of the nature of the building, it's a defence site. They haven't got, there's no street view information, so how would you actually show information on a lot of that? And again, you can actually close this off as far as you can control it from where you actually, as to who has access through, so you can give contractors through passwords and logins for coming in and being able to obtain this data. You can actually have information, you can actually have inspections, you can actually have as-built data, you can have a whole lot of things. Here it just gives you the type of data and the addresses and number of levels, and here it gives you detail to a level 1 plan. This one is an example of, again, of an overlay of a building plan on top of using a building plan and overlaying it on top of the map. And here you can filter it out. This one isn't quite aligned, and I don't know why, because it was aligned before. But you can actually show the floor layout, and so you can get an idea of where the main door is and stuff like that straight away from the map, so you don't actually have to go and find that information anywhere else. Other information you can get is 2D plans, so you can just link to where there are 2D plans of all of these ones here. So this one here is another little example that I'll show you, which actually has data sheets that are developed on each of the rooms on a specific one. So this is an example of actually another building. So it's just saying you can actually link this data across. And this one has each of the rooms in that particular building, showing the data sheets of all of those. Now, if you try and zoom in to this particular area, you'll actually see it's very granular. It's not very accurate at all. You can't read very much of this data in here. It's all pixelated. That's because that particular sheet is actually just an image file. If you actually wanted the actual PDF of it, and the PDFs, we will go through, sorry, it's room 6. So if we go into room 6 and we click on the PDF, if we go into the actual PDF itself, and here we go into here, and we will just download and view here, and we'll just open this one. When you zoom in on part of the exercise here, you can see all of the information very, very clearly. The previous way of actually doing it with the images is just to be able to visualize the images very, very quickly to see which drawing or which room that you actually want. Here on this one here, you'll see reflected ceiling plan with all of the specific tiles. You can see floor plan, you can see the adjacent rooms, you can see the stairs linking the space, you can see the doors and window numbers of all of the items going through. And it's a PDF, so you can just email this on to somebody or get them to download it, which is very convenient. Examples that I'll be talking about that separately. So that's a handy way of actually linking the information across. You can say that's the building I'm looking at, and you can actually confirm which building you're looking at with the client by just doing a snap screen. Again, you've got a way of updating any new changes, because Google Maps may not have all of that. Here's another one across here. A lot of that information wasn't on other stuff, it is on this one here. The other thing which you can also do on this particular one is that you can show external services. This was actually downloaded from Coordinates in New Zealand, which gives you the overlay of the buildings throughout the country. So you can get it of a specific date. So you can actually get all of your buildings and the building types. And again, here I've used color to indicate the type of the building. So this one here is building type school. This one here is building type garage. So the color thinks this is just a water tower, I think. So it's the building type utility. So again, you can color by things, or you can change the symbols. This one here, security, different color. You can put images in. You can also put panoramas in. And so if you'd actually gone through and done an inspection, one of the things that I'd recommend, instead of using just a normal photo, you can actually either, well, this is actually a BIM generated panorama that you can actually have of a room, and that's a proposed design. And I actually don't know if I've got the PDF. Yes, I have. So here's an example of a photographic panorama, and here I'm actually using a PDF to link all of the objects through. We'll see just what generates up through here first. Again, these are quite large size files, so they give you an indication of internally seeing the condition of a building at a specific time. So this one here gives you a date, gives you a corridor, you can zoom in on information, you can download that particular file if you want to, and then you can go to a different room. So that one there is actually the corridor, so that one gives you an indication of looking back into that bedroom there. That's looking down the corridor to the end there, that's looking across to the bathroom. And the nice thing with the little 3D 360 panorama cameras is that even in very small rooms you can capture all of the condition of things, like especially where you've got difficult objects or things around, you can actually capture in small spaces the whole outline. With a normal camera you'll only get a part of a wall, so this is one thing that I think is quite good. Depending on the size of your panoramas, and some of them take a while to upload because some of them are sort of 4 megabyte size. Some of the other ones are only about 1.5 megabyte size, but here an indication of a very small space, which is a porch. You can see the ceiling, you've got an indication of what sort of light it is, you've got an indication of what hardware's in there, you've got an indication of what door type's there, you've got an indication of an awful lot of information. So you don't necessarily actually have to go and do a site visit. You can actually get a lot of information and say, I need a piece of glass because something's broken there of a rough size. You can then take a glass cutter along just to do the final repairs. So the final trimming, sorry, for a thing. So you don't actually need to do possibly a site visit before going out to do some maintenance or repair work. So there's a bit of power in actually having information in an accessible point. And you can do this purely by building and linking this data across to straight database. Now the nice thing with a database is that, especially if you're only working on 1 or 2 tables, is that you can upload and download from an Excel file or a CSV. So here's an example of a heat map of a particular building. So this is both This is an external heat map. Oh no, it actually goes through all of the rooms and shows you what the conditions are and when they are. So it says which year and what condition those things are in. This one here gives you a plan. It gives you the areas of windows, door data, room data, floor area, wall area, ceiling area you assume is the same as the wall area. So there's an awful lot of information that you've actually got on a building. And you've got photographs here so you can get an indication of not only the building itself but also of the external spaces as well. And those are just street view. And again, here's an example using the heat maps of what happens if you treat the buildings nicely or if you neglect them. You can see when you're going to have to do more repairs on them or extra cost because things start failing earlier. It changes from condition 1 to condition 2 a lot more quickly if you neglect them. If you look after them a lot, you don't actually have to do things a lot more. You just need to do a simple wash down and just basic simple maintenance. So again, you can look at what are the scenarios if I don't do maintenance or if I do maintenance. So you can see extra work and when that work comes. So you can say, oh, well, I've got to do something in 2030, but if I actually look after it, if I look after it, I don't have to do anything until 2041 on that particular thing because we've looked after it well. So therefore that condition of that roof will last a lot longer. So again, through the rooms, you can actually look at the rooms when they were painted and when those things need to be changed and when they need to be done. So there's a planned maintenance that you can actually gather from that. So again, heat map data that you can actually get to visualize that information. We will talk about heat maps in another video, but this is really just a wayfinding. Here's the building, this is where you go, and basically this is just stored information somewhere. The other ones that you can actually do as well, something that I think is very underrated, is actually 3D PDFs. Unfortunately, with 3D PDFs, the browsers don't let you browse them because the browsers are sort of dumbed down to 2D just to speed up the browser. So you actually have to do quite a few. You've got to go into the browser settings and change those settings so that you can view through another tool, like you use Adobe to actually view your PDF, so it opens it up with those ones. So in this particular case, you actually have to download the file, and we're now going to open it, and this is a 3D PDF. It's more of a site building rather than the one that I'd actually have as an object here, but we can actually just do a quick and dirty cross-sectional slice in the y-axis and have a look at that, and we can look through the building there. So again, 3D PDFs are pretty powerful things because you don't need any fancy readers to read them, just a straight PDF, and you can do measurements in there straight away. You can spin the view. The other thing that you can do with that is actually, I'll take that object there, as we get information on it, and if we look at that piece of information there, click, it comes down to the node, and if we go there, we've got information on the window. We've got its window code, we've got its height, we've got its type. So we can push a lot of information and actually have it obtainable in a 3D PDF, but I will talk about that later. So using a map to actually hold information on your property around the place. Now this is one demonstration of way to use it, and I quite like the overlay of this also from the point of view of planning, to be able to have individual buildings again overlaid, not only have the building plans but also the internal plans, so that you can get a general idea of what the floor layout is. He's not going to do it now. Where are you? Oh, there. It's got to be a certain zoom level before it goes in. To actually have these on all of those. Again, you could do them in the overlay. You can fade in, fade out. Great for underground services on a more complex site. Good to actually see your plumbing and drainage and all your site drainage stuff, although in New Zealand the council actually have a lot of those information with their overlays, so it's good to have. So again, using a map to actually keep your data, to say where's the information I have on that, where's the as-built, where's the fan data, where's this, where's that. You can link to all of those things, and so this is just information that you've gathered over time. This is one example of this. I'll be showing you another example in another video. I hope it's been of interest to you. Thank you very much.